Okay, this is the Goffstown Budget Committee, September 15th, 2016. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. We're going to start with a roll call of members. I'm Elizabeth DeBrule, Committee Chairman.
Joanne Duffy, Secretary.
David Pierce, the Selectman's Representative.
Craig Campbell.
Dennis Lynch.
Diane McCarthy, School Board Rep.
John Stafford.
Carl Soderquist.
Angela McKenzie.
Brian Fournier.
Okay, public comment. We don't have any public. She's here for something else. Approval of minutes from May 19th. So I sent those around, like, what, I think last night or this morning?
Last night.
Okay. Does anybody, can I have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any changes, revisions? Okay, so all those in favor of approving the minutes as they are, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Oh, boy. Okay, Craig abstains, Dave abstains, John abstains.
I kind of have to, so.
Yeah, you have to because you were on the committee, and Brian abstains.
In there.
Yeah. Okay. The next thing is the vacant position. We have one position vacant on this committee right now, and I received 2 applications. I contacted both applicants and asked them to be here tonight to speak briefly as to why they would like to join the Budget Committee. I see one now. I don't know if the other one's coming in. So the process, again, is we're going to ask the applicants to speak for just a minute or two about why they would like to join their budget committee and what their experience is, what they think they can bring to the committee. Then I will entertain a motion from the committee about which one to appoint, and we will vote on that and go from there. So let's go ahead and have her up. Her name is Susanna Buswell? Buzzle? Sorry, but I don't know where I got that. What, you don't know how to spell that, Joanne? There you go.
Thanks.
Susanna, why don't you come up? And if you can just speak into the microphone right there. And you can take a seat if you'd like.
Oh, that would be better.
And just tell us, just briefly, a little bit about your background and why you want to be on the Budget Committee.
So, living in Goffstown for about probably 12 to 13 years. I have 2 kids, so I'm actually invested in the community. They both go, to schools here. And I've decided to do more volunteer stuff and really be active part of the community. And my background is in finance. I have been almost 10 years in Fidelity Investments as a derivative specialist, and currently I'm a lead faculty for Southern New Hampshire University teaching international finance and international business. So I am very familiar with budgets and financial statements, most probably for the corporate side than nonprofits, but obviously there's not as much of a difference in the way they're written. So I have a lot of theoretical background, and as a practice, I have done budget proposals where I worked at the corporate, and I have also prepared them as a theory for different classes. I have taught a class for New Hampshire Banking Commission for their auditing specialists, and that's pretty much in summary what I do
Okay.
and why I'm interested.
Have you volunteered for anything else in the community yet?
I did. My son was at Villa Augustina, so I was at the budget committee there. The proposal I put forth did not go through, and so that's how it ended up.
Okay.
But it's so that was I volunteered there, but not usually. I was something with my child, volunteering with him. So not outside of their activities. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the other candidate is Kyle Mollinger. He is not here tonight. Some people would say that would automatically disqualify him, but I will let it stand. We'll put it to the board. So those are our 2 candidates. I need a motion from the floor to appoint one if we so choose.
First of all, do you have any information on his background?
I can read you his little blurb.
That'd be helpful.
The blurb that he put on his application is, "My wife and I have recently moved to Goffstown, and I'm interested becoming more involved with the town, specifically in regard to the Budget Committee and Southern New Hampshire Regional Planning Commission. I bring experience to both of these positions, having formerly served as a member of the Allenstown Budget Committee and as a member of the USNH Board of Trustees, and have started to familiarize myself through research and readings on specific Goffstown initiatives and policies."
Okay, thank you.
Angela?
Was the absence excused or unexcused?
He told me he was coming, so I don't know where he is.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Speaking of, oh, thank you for reminding me, though. I'm sorry I'm jumping out of order. Scott Gross is an excused absence. He contacted me already. And nobody else is. Everybody else.
I wasn't gonna.
You sure you want to do this?
Except for Pete, who sent a replacement, so. Okay, sorry. Getting back to the issue at hand. Yeah.
Fair
So.
enough.
John?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the applicant that showed up tonight.
Susanna?
Susanna, yeah, thank you, couldn't remember the name.
It's a great Scrabble
Puzzle,
game. If
right?
only you
Susanna
could play
Puzzle, right?
with names, because Buzzell, too, I mean, that's 4 Z's.
I have one in my middle name too.
Oh, my
Oh,
gosh.
wow. Just on general principles, then.
Do I have a second?
Second that motion.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of appointing Susanna to the vacancy, raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Okay, great. You are a have been appointed. You cannot sit at this meeting because the paperwork has to be drawn up and you have to be sworn in by one of the selectmen. But you're welcome to stay, certainly. In fact, I encourage you to stay, so you'll be up to date on all this. And then by the next meeting, you should be a full-fledged member and can take your seat at the table. Okay? Great. Okay, moving on. Next thing is schools update. Diane?
All right, so school board's buzzing along. We'll meet again Monday. We had our first meeting for this school year back at the end of August. Summer was spent trying to catch up on different projects for facilities, get our facilities in shape. Different projects that we had started, such as Bartlett, the drainage issue over at Mountain View, still trying to make sure we get that reconciled. We're heading into our budget season. Of course, I know we'll talk about the schedule later. But we do expect, the school board at least expects to be presented the budget in October. I would expect we'd be ready for the beginning of November.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we'll hammer out the details on that when we get to that thing, but great.
Okay.
Thank you. So anything unexpected?
No,
You guys are at the start of your fiscal year,
we
pretty
are,
much,
because
so.
we're July 1st.
Right.
So we wrapped up the last fiscal year, and it's been pretty quiet.
Do you know how much was returned to the to the general fund, or is it the general fund or the
It
taxpayers?
is. It was about 798,000. That was a combination of unanticipated revenues as well as budgeted items that we didn't expend. Most of that was unanticipated revenues, so we weren't able to appropriate it. The funds that we were able to appropriate that were returned to the town was in the ballpark of about 100,000, if memory serves.
Okay. So how much went into the, I can't remember the name of it, but the rainy day fund? Yes, the unreserved fund balance.
The unreserved fund balance, you mean the 2.5% fund?
Yeah.
There were questions about that because there were some different interpretations as far as how much we were able to appropriate into that fund. There was discussion over last year that we had perhaps appropriated too much based on regulations.
Okay.
Right now, we're looking at about 500,000, I believe.
Okay. So 500,000 possibly to that fund, almost 800,000 back to the general fund.
And what we're trying to do, I mean, because you can use that for emergency situations with permission from the DOE. One thing we're really eyeballing is, if you remember, we have a significant drainage issue over at Goffstown High School.
Right.
Where it seems like every time we have a deluge, which we've been so lucky recently, we end up with significant water damage. So we're waiting on grant funding for that. It should be pretty significant, but we are looking to be able to appropriate some of those funds to help mitigate. That's going to be an expensive project.
That would come from the unreserved fund balance?
It would come from our emergency fund, that 2.5%
Okay.
we've set aside.
Okay. And then, just to reiterate, budgeting-wise, there was only less than 100,000 from budget.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Great. Nothing else for schools? Does anybody have any questions? All right, we'll move on to the town. It says Peter, but we mean David.
Yes, I'm the substitute for this evening. The selectmen have started hearing presentations from our departments on their proposed budget. And, for example, on the 12th, this previous Monday, we heard Public Works and Administration. On the following sessions here in September, we'll hear from the other departments, Library, Fire, Sewer, Parks and Rec, Police, and we'll conclude with presentations on special articles. We will deliberate for 2 following sessions, and according to our schedule, on 1 November, we will turn over to this committee our proposed budget.
So you say that with a little smile on your face. Does that mean that's a soft November 1? Or do you think that's a reasonable?
It's very achievable.
Okay.
And so, as you know, our sessions are recallable on video on demand, and so if you want to hear the actual presentations, I encourage you to do that.
Okay. Can I have my pen back, David? Thanks.
And in conclusion, we did set the town deliberative session for February 8th,
Okay.
and a snow date the following evening, February 9th.
Okay.
Do you want to know when the school deliberative is too? Thank you for
Yeah.
reminding me.
Do you know when it is?
Yeah, just give me a second to get to 2017. Feb. 4, with the snow date the following, so we're taking the first Saturday, 10 o'clock, Heber.
That's pretty much par for the course, right? You guys
Yeah.
always go on Saturday, town goes the following week.
Yep.
Okay.
And we make sure we schedule it so we have room to use snow dates if we need to.
Okay. Is there any word on what the, setting this year's tax rate?
It hasn't been discussed at the board.
Okay. So we don't really know where we're starting from entirely, right? Tax-wise, tax rate-wise.
The only highlight is the following. The selectmen asked the department chiefs to increase, if they wanted to, limit any increase to 10%. And it looks as though the general fund at this point is technically 9.6% increased. But it's not exactly comparing apples to apples, because if you look at the various special articles and you balance them year to year, the actual increase is $900,000. And then if you look at, we're anticipating an increase in revenue this following year. So the net balance that would be funded by taxes is $324,000 at this point in time.
Okay, and you guys haven't worked on that budget yet? You're
We-
just hearing presentations?
We're just hearing the presentations, and this is the going-in presentation from, as it's been assembled from all the department heads.
Okay. So when you say, well, I don't want to get too far into that, never mind. Okay.
I have a couple questions.
Yes, go ahead.
The people that presented to the selectmen, would they be the same people that will present to the budget committee?
Yes.
Yes. We typically, it's the department heads.
Second question is, when you say anticipated revenue, have you identified where those revenue sources are coming from?
Yes.
You do? Okay, I was just curious.
They will, when they do their presentation for us, that's the first thing we cover, I believe, is assumptions and revenue, projected revenue. And when the department heads come to us, they present the selectmen's budget for their department, not their budget. So once the department heads bring their budget to their ideas to the selectmen, they craft a budget. And from that point forward, we don't hear about the department head's budget, because that's not on the table anymore. The only thing that's on the table is the selectmen's budget.
Oh, okay.
So that's what the department heads will present to us, and then we consider. So, just so you know that. Any other questions? Craig?
Quick question. Did the new housing assessments take place yet? Has that happened?
Yes. The,
Did it come door to door, or did it just automatically?
They only do a section every year, like,
Oh,
they'll
okay.
do one section one year and then another section another year.
I got a
There-
letter
there-
and there's
Correct me
like
if I'm wrong,
10% coming your way.
there's a town-wide a new assessment on all properties.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, and a letter went out to all the property owners about
But I thought always they ended up doing like one section, one year, and then the following year they're able to get the next.
I think that's how that's like
all
their
they did.
maintenance
This-
plan,
That's
but
what I
then
thought.
they do, every once in a while, they do the whole
Okay,
shebang.
all right, yeah.
So I
That,
think
that's
this
a
is the year they're
physical
doing the whole
assessment
shebang.
That's
of
right, yeah.
property.
That's right, yeah.
What I was speaking about was an adjustment of every property in
Oh,
town.
okay, yeah, yeah.
We were at our assessments were at about 92% of the theoretical selling prices of homes based on a record of which, selling of the selling prices of homes. We were at 92%. We have to be within 10%. So we were getting close to that 90% level. The selectmen approved a higher assessed value for all the properties in the town. So we're closer to the 100% level of what we think houses sell at, properties sell at.
So remember, when they adjust your assessment rate, though, then they correspondingly adjust the tax rate. So a higher assessment doesn't necessarily mean you're paying more in taxes, because then they factor in a ratio to bring the tax rate down. So the end result is, getting reassessed doesn't change your taxes,
So-
unless you've
No.
changed your property.
Right. And so the average assessment townwide went up about 6%. And if your property went up 6, well, and if all else remained the same, your tax bill would be exactly the same. If you're, but then there's different classes of property, like manufactured housing. It's selling much higher than it had been in previous years, and so their assessments went up 25%.
So they'll get some break from that with the with the rate readjustment.
My taxes went up 14, actually, I'm just about $1,500 this year.
The new assessments are on the website for each
Yes,
property.
yes, you can look up your property's assessed value on the town's
It's
website.
my understanding that a third went up, a third went down, and about a third stayed the same. That's usually the
I
average.
think that's probably
reasonable.
typical,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
It went down.
Yeah.
okay, any other questions on the
Well-
town side? Okay, so the next item is department and school tours. So we had talked about this previously. Since we aren't having representatives go to each of the departments, we want to have the option to go visit all the different departments ourselves. And it gives a chance to get a tour and to find out what the department head is asking for and why, and actually look at what they're showing us. Do we want to go ahead with that? Do you want me to set those up? I don't want to set them up if nobody's going to go. But if we even have like 2 or 3 people, that makes it worth it. So, you think you would go? Okay. Maybe. Okay.
Do you think weekdays or?
Well, that's kind of up in the air. I mean, we could do a weekday, we could do a Saturday morning, whatever is going to work for people.
I'd go. I'd like to go.
Okay, so what do you guys think? Weekdays or Saturdays?
I'm flexible, so.
You're flexible? What about you guys?
I work, so I have Monday to Fridays off.
Okay. Dennis, your hours are a little more erratic, right?
No, I just work evenings.
Oh, okay, so you
Saturday,
could go
Saturday is fine, any day during the week.
Okay, so maybe we'll try and do those Saturday mornings. And I'll set those up. They are very informative, and I know we found in the past that there's a big benefit to going out and actually seeing what they're talking about when they come in here and pitch it, so.
Saturday's better for me, too.
Saturday's better for you too? I know it's better for you, right, Angela? Okay,
That whole right as the kids were getting off the bus bit just wasn't working.
okay.
It might be tricky from the school perspective.
You're right, the schools might be something else, and that might be something, with the schools, it might might not be as good a use of our time unless they're talking about a large CIP project.
Yeah, which we're not.
Okay, then let's not worry about the school side of it, let's just do the
I just wanted to throw that
departments.
out there as you guys were planning, just to
Yeah.
avoid any misunderstanding. I'm
Yeah,
not saying it can't happen, it's just trickier.
okay.
Mm.
My Oh, go
A
ahead.
follow-up question. I'm a newbie, so I gotta ask this question. So, department went to the selectmen, and then the selectmen has a budget in mind for that department. We go to the department to hear what they want. Is that where the two are sort of gonna come together and come to a compromise?
They are, while we're doing our tours, they're working out their compromises, basically. So, yeah, you will sometimes see things that don't ultimately show up in the budget,
Yeah.
but usually the department heads are savvy enough to spend your time on things that they're pretty darn sure are gonna be in the budget. Because they know that they've got you as a captive audience, and they wanna make their case. So they, in my experience, I've never had a department head try and put us in the middle of an argument with the selectmen.
Okay.
So,
If you visit Public Works, you'll be shown the most rusted truck we have, because we want to replace it.
yeah. So, and in the past, I mean, there have been a few times in the past when the budget committee has asked about restoring something to budget or putting something in the budget, and the argument has always been, it's a bottom line budget, and if the selectmen don't want to spend it on that, all we're doing is giving them money that they'll spend somewhere else. So it's not really a good mechanism to get through what you want.
I was surprised by it. Okay.
Yeah, so, okay, any other questions about that? All right, I'll set those up. And then the last thing is the budget season. So, as we mentioned, David mentioned they're gonna be ready around November 1st to give us their budgets. Diane's saying early November, first week of November.
Yeah, based on what I anticipate to be our own presentation schedule and then work sessions we do and our meeting schedule, I think it's fair to go for November 8th or November 10th. Are we doing a Tuesday, Thursday meeting schedule?
Well, we have to
again?
decide that. That's one of the things we have to
Because
talk
that's what I'm
about.
looking at those dates too, trying to target for when people can pick them up.
Okay, so
And
we
we'll
have,
be having a meeting that on the 7th, so we could finalize any changes that we made on public.
so you think the 7th will be when you guys are making your final changes?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so, and pushing it forward, which means we just need to then allow time for copy and delivery
Right.
here, which can usually turn around pretty quickly.
Okay, so what we need to decide, we basically need to decide three things. We need to decide about our meeting schedule going forward, what nights we're meeting, when, and how often. We need to decide if we're doing the town in its entirety first and then switching to the schools, or if we're gonna go back and forth. Since I've been on the committee in 5 years, we've done it both ways. And then our final question is, what day are we gonna start this process? So, traditionally, the budget committee meets on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. Is everybody still cool with that?
Yes.
Nobody wants to meet on a Friday. We could meet on a Wednesday, but we can't meet on Monday because the school board and the selectmen are meeting on Mondays, and we need their reps here. So, Tuesdays and Thursdays are fine with everyone?
Sold.
Okay, so we'll stick with the Tuesday, Thursday arrangement. Then the question is, do we want to do all town and then all school, or do we want to do the town on Tuesday nights and the school on Thursday nights? Or whatever, we'll work out those details later, but what would the committee prefer? The last 2 years, isn't it the last 2 years, we've done town on one night and school on the other.
Seems to work. Does it work?
Doesn't bother me. One way or another, we're gonna get through it.
No.
Sometimes it's a lot to keep track of, but the advantage is that it helps you keep the big picture in mind. If you just do the town first and then you switch to the school, sometimes it's hard to keep both of them in mind, and the fact that there's gonna be, an impact on the taxpayer from both. But we've done, as I said, we've done it both ways. So,
It feels to me like a better continuity to sort of wrap it all within the same budget. I mean, all within town and then all within school.
to do one and then the other?
First time looking at it, so just felt like better continuity.
That's the
Okay.
way I was thinking too, but when you suggested that it lets you look at the big picture, that makes sense too, so.
Right.
That and it
Okay.
gives-
More experienced people.
People from the town and the school a little bit of a break, not having to come
That's
2
true.
nights in a row, 2 nights.
that's true, and it is hard, actually, for the school, because they have other responsibilities, so
We
it's
have in
hard.
Boston,
Yeah, so it's hard for them to come, boom, 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 boom.
and Brian teaches a class every other Thursday.
Oh, he does?
And we're in negotiations with GESS, so I think they've got some negotiations peppered in.
That's
on
support staff?
Thursdays.
Okay.
I guess that settles it.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be very difficult for the school for us to do them all at
Could
one
be
time
tricky
and
on
do boom, boom,
Thursdays.
I think we've talked about it before, and same things come up before, so.
Okay.
I'm going to throw one glitch in your plans. You mentioned Thursday, and there are other committees that might meet on Thursdays here.
Okay.
And you're familiar that we used to have a meeting room across the hall.
What do you mean used to?
It's now an office for the fire department with their
Oh.
building, their fire department here is being,
Well, that was my next question
Renovated.
for you.
Ooh,
Where are we at with that? As far as like
It's-
start date and stuff?
I don't know a start date other than we have awarded a contract.
I just talked to the chief like a week ago, and they're just getting ready to break ground.
So their admin office for the fire department is across the hall in what used to be a conference room. So I urge you to coordinate with the administration office to confirm availability of rooms.
Yeah,
gonna
because
be
at
pretty
least
tough,
planning
though.
board is gonna try and be in here at the same time.
Well,
Sounds
that,
tricky.
and if we swap the Wednesdays, then you get zoning.
Tuesdays, so.
Is it Tuesdays? What's Wednesdays?
First Tuesday. Wednesday is
School won't
economic
donate a room.
development.
Thank you, that's what I,
I know, I'm
I
thinking.
knew it was something I used to come to.
Economic development.
Yeah, that's a small group.
Yeah, and that's only
You need
once a
this
month.
room because of the video?
Yes.
Yeah,
The only other
There is
option.
video across the hall, but like I said, it's been
Yeah.
tempered for 6 months or longer, it's going to be unavailable.
the media center at the high school is obviously wired because that's where we have our meetings. So I know it's not typical for this committee to go between two different locations, but we
yeah,
could see what we could work out.
so it might be Tuesday, Wednesday, is the other thing, is the other alternative.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Except
What?
the first Tuesday is zoning board.
Wow. I'm glad I'm not in logistics here.
All right. I'll have to talk to Sue and Brian and see what we can work out.
Be determined.
Yeah, well, I mean, because this is a big issue. I mean, this is our crunch time, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure frankly who trumps who at this
Right.
point. Because we have such a narrow window in which we are statutorily obligated to function.
Yep.
Okay, let me talk to Sue and see what I can work out.
We might be visiting the high school after all.
Yeah, we might be, yeah, exactly. Or the planning board might be visiting the high school.
One or the other.
Okay, so with that in mind, then the question becomes, when do we want to start this process? If we have November 1st is a Tuesday, the selectmen are going to, let's see, they're going to submit to us that day. So that's probably not a good day to start because we all need time to look at it and digest and everything else. November 1st.
Tuesday.
Oh my.
So we could start that week if we're meeting on Tuesday or we're meeting on Thursday. And frankly, at this point, now that we've heard all these other complications, I think we should probably try and start as soon as possible if we're going to have so much trouble getting meeting space.
Because we run out of time. No one wants to be here on Christmas Eve.
Well,
I am not going to be here on
No.
Christmas Eve.
Well, yeah, I won't be either.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Scott can handle it.
Well, in the following Tuesday's election,
Yeah, it is. Now, the question is, we might need to meet that night.
just throwing things out, extra things
You
out
won't
there.
be able to meet at the high school.
No, maybe we can meet here.
That's the,
You might be slow and
the
selectmen that
zoning
night.
board.
Yeah, if they're
Oh,
early.
that's right. So we can't meet on the 8th. You're right. Okay, so I think we need to try and look at that very first week of November and start with the town and get as many meetings in as we can from there. It'll probably only be one that week. And then basically what I'm gonna do, and I know this is not fun for anybody in November and early December, I'm just gonna have to talk to Sue and schedule whenever we can get in, and it might be all over the map.
Okay.
And I'll release the schedule as soon as I have it, and we're just all gonna have to shift our stuff around and try and sort it out.
So November 2nd.
Yeah, figure we might start on November 2nd. And then the other question is, do we want to have a meeting in late October? Or the third week of October, like a regular meeting?
I don't find it essential.
You have a reason why?
No?
Okay.
It's just that I know some people don't like it when we don't meet regularly. Now, we meet a lot in November and December, so
That's fine, but
I don't think we have any business to do, but the only
We're here
reason
to
we
do
would be
something,
here
that's
is for
fine.
public comment.
Yeah.
That and if we were gonna fine tune our schedule at all based on what we've learned through our own budget processes or availability, but I think we can do that via email.
I think we can probably do that via email, and then all those dates will be posted on the town's website for the public, once we sort it out. Okay, then let's not meet, figure we're not gonna meet in October. The next date, our next meeting then is, the date is gonna be to be announced, because I have to talk to Sue. And we'll go from there. So it might be a little wild in Zooey budget season this year. All right, is there any other business?
Never been like that before.
Is there any other business to come before the committee? All right, my trusty band of quorum makers.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
A second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thanks, Daryl.
Do you want